Ladies and gentlemen, friends, let me ask you something. What would your life look like if nothing, absolutely nothing, could shake you? Personal responsibility is the foundation of emotional freedom. It's easy to blame others for how we feel when someone cuts us off in traffic, when a colleague says something rude, or when a friend lets us down. It's tempting to let the actions of others dictate our emotional state. But here's the truth: you are in control of your emotions. No one can make you angry unless you allow them to. What does this mean? It means you must take full ownership of your reactions. You cannot control what other people do, but you absolutely control how you respond. When you realize this, you step into a position of strength. Instead of reacting impulsively, you pause, breathe, and choose how to respond. Anger, frustration, and irritation often come from giving someone else power over your emotions. But when you understand that you are the one who decides your emotional state, you take back your power. Personal responsibility also means recognizing that every emotion you feel is an internal decision. Sure, people can say hurtful things, but how you internalize those words is up to you. You can either accept them as truth and let them affect you, or you can choose to dismiss them as unimportant. Think about it this way: when someone offends you, they might be operating from a place of their own struggles. They could be having a bad day, feeling insecure, or projecting their frustrations. But their emotional baggage is not yours to carry. It's theirs. And when you take responsibility for how you feel, you give yourself permission to let go of other people's negativity. It's crucial to realize that emotional peace is not dependent on the behavior of others. It's rooted in the decision to guard your own heart. So when you feel anger or frustration bubbling up, remember, it's not about the person who triggered you. It's about your decision to either let it go or let it consume you. Taking personal responsibility is the key to not being controlled by external circumstances or people's actions. It's about reclaiming your emotional sovereignty and making the conscious choice to maintain peace regardless of what's happening around you. A shift in perspective is one of the most powerful tools you can use to protect your peace and prevent anger from taking root in your life. How you see a situation dictates how you respond to it. Often we let the negative actions of others control our emotions because we view their behavior through a lens of personal attack. We interpret their words or actions as direct assaults on us. But what if we could change the way we view them? What if we chose to see things differently? Imagine if, instead of reacting to someone's rude comment or hurtful actions with frustration or anger, you saw their behavior as a reflection of their own struggles and insecurities. Maybe they're acting out because they're hurting, or perhaps they feel threatened, insecure, or misunderstood. When you shift your perspective in this way, their actions no longer feel like a personal assault. Instead, they become an invitation to show empathy and compassion. Shifting your perspective doesn't mean you condone bad behavior or let people walk all over you. It simply means that you recognize their actions are more about their internal battles than they are about you. People are often driven by things they haven't processed or healed within themselves. When you stop taking their behavior personally, you free yourself from the emotional weight of their actions. This shift in perspective helps you avoid becoming a prisoner of someone else's emotional state. When you interpret someone's negativity or rudeness as a reflection of their own pain, it allows you to detach from the need to defend or retaliate. Instead, you can respond with understanding and grace, which keeps your peace intact. The key here is to stop viewing yourself as the center of every interaction. Not everything is about you. People don't always act out of malice toward you specifically. Sometimes they're projecting their own unresolved issues onto you. When you choose to see the bigger picture and stop seeing yourself as the victim, you become less reactive. A shift in perspective means you no longer allow someone else's momentary lapse in judgment to disturb your inner peace. You realize that ultimately you are in control of your response, and your peace is far too valuable to let someone else's issues disturb it. This perspective shift also opens the door to practicing patience and forgiveness. When you can see a person's flaws or mistakes through a lens of compassion instead of judgment, you start to feel less inclined to hold on to anger. Instead of viewing their actions as something that needs to be fixed, you can accept that they are imperfect just like you. You stop expecting others to meet your standards and begin to accept them as they are, giving you the freedom to remain unshaken by their behavior. When you are deeply rooted in your purpose, the small annoyances and negative interactions of daily life lose their ability to disturb your peace. In fact, they often become insignificant. When you know where you're headed and what you're about, nothing, no comment, no criticism, no unkind act has the power to pull you off course. Purpose is a guiding force that directs your thoughts, emotions, and actions. It provides clarity and helps you prioritize what truly matters while drowning out the noise of distractions. So often, we become tangled in the web of what others think of us or how we're being treated. But when you're focused on your purpose, your eyes are fixed on a greater vision. You stop looking at the small things that could potentially derail your peace because you realize they don't even come close to the importance of the greater mission you're on. The truth is, most things that disturb us in the moment are temporary. Someone's rude comment, an unexpected setback, or an inconvenient situation, they'll all fade with time. But your purpose, that's something you carry with you every day. When you center yourself around your purpose, you begin to operate with a level of emotional maturity. You stop reacting to every situation, and instead, you choose to respond from a place of alignment with your greater goals. This doesn't mean you'll never feel frustrated or angry. It simply means that these emotions won't control you. You'll feel them, acknowledge them, and then choose to move forward with the understanding that they don't define you. The purpose you're living for is far bigger than any momentary frustration. Your purpose also acts as a filter through which you view the actions of others. When you're deeply focused on what you're called to do, you don't have the time or energy to engage in petty conflicts or worry about what others think. You begin to realize that the opinions and actions of others are irrelevant to the work you've been given. Whether they like you or not, whether they agree with you or not, your purpose remains unchanged. It helps you filter out the distractions and remain grounded in what you're supposed to accomplish. Furthermore, focusing on your purpose gives you the strength to stay grounded, even in the face of adversity. Life is full of challenges, and not everyone you encounter will treat you kindly. But when you know that your purpose is greater than any temporary setback, you find the resilience to keep moving forward. It's like having a compass in the storm. You may feel tossed around by the waves of life, but because your purpose is fixed, you never lose sight of your direction. In addition, when you're focused on your purpose, you start to see challenges as opportunities for growth rather than obstacles that hinder your progress. You'll find that what used to upset you no longer holds the same weight. Instead of reacting to situations, you approach them with a mindset that is solution-oriented. You know that your purpose requires perseverance, and you begin to view every difficult person or situation as part of the journey, not something that should throw you off track. A sense of purpose also allows you to maintain your peace because you understand that nothing, not even the actions of others, has the power to dictate your worth or your direction. Your worth is tied to your purpose, not the opinions or actions of those around you. When you're anchored in that knowledge, the opinions of others, the mistakes of others, or their failures to understand you simply don't hold the same weight. They can't shake you because you know what you're here to do and nothing else matters as much as fulfilling that mission. Empathy and understanding are two of the most powerful tools we have in creating peace within ourselves and our interactions with others. These qualities allow us to see beyond our immediate emotions and judgments, to step into another person's shoes, and to recognize that their actions and words are often a reflection of their own struggles, fears, and experiences. When we cultivate empathy, we free ourselves from reacting with anger or frustration because we stop taking things personally. We begin to see people as complex individuals, not simply as the sum of their actions towards us. The power of empathy lies in the ability to look at someone and acknowledge that what they do may be driven by something deeper than what's on the surface. People's actions are rarely random. Often they are the result of deep, unaddressed pain, unmet needs, or insecurities they haven't learned how to cope with. When you approach others with empathy, you recognize that their behavior is not necessarily an intentional attack on you. It's an expression of where they are emotionally and mentally. This shift in perspective allows you to respond not with defensiveness or anger, but with compassion and understanding. Think about a time when someone was rude to you or snapped at you for no apparent reason. It's easy to become defensive or angry in these situations. But what if instead of reacting to the person's words, you paused and thought about what might be going on in their life? Perhaps they've had a tough day, are under a lot of stress, or struggling with something deeply personal that has nothing to do with you. Maybe they're projecting their own unresolved emotions onto you. By recognizing that their behavior likely stems from their own inner turmoil, you free yourself from the burden of taking it personally. You no longer feel the need to retaliate or hold on to anger because you understand that their words are not about you, they are about them. Empathy also allows you to connect on a deeper level with others. When you take the time to truly understand where someone is coming from, you create space for meaningful dialogue. Instead of seeing others as obstacles or sources of frustration, you begin to see them as people with their own stories, their own pain, and their own desires. You realize that we are all, in many ways, doing the best we can with the tools we have. We are all human, and we all make mistakes. When we extend empathy, we give grace not only to others, but also to ourselves. Understanding others' actions also means recognizing that we are not perfect, and we too have moments where our behavior might be misunderstood. We have all been the one who is angry, frustrated, or reacting from a place of pain. Just as we want people to show us grace and understanding when we lash out or behave poorly, we must offer that same grace to others. This creates a cycle of compassion that allows everyone to grow, learn, and improve without being weighed down by the bitterness of judgment. Empathy encourages us to listen, to truly listen to the heart of what someone is saying. It's not just about hearing the words coming out of their mouth, it's about understanding the emotions behind those words. When you listen with empathy, you listen not just to what is said, but to what is unsaid, the fear, the uncertainty, the unmet needs, and the hurt that might be driving their words. This deep listening creates an emotional connection that fosters healing and peace. One of the most profound aspects of empathy is the way it shifts our focus away from ourselves and onto others. When we're caught up in our own frustrations, it's easy to become self-centered, to focus only on how others' actions affect us. But empathy invites us to step outside of ourselves and consider the world through someone else's eyes. This shift from self-focus to other focus allows us to respond with compassion, instead of reacting with anger or irritation. Instead of seeing someone's behavior as an affront to us, we see it as an opportunity to show love, kindness, and understanding. Furthermore, empathy allows us to release the expectation that others must act or behave a certain way to earn our respect or love. Instead, we recognize that each person is on their own journey, fighting their own battles and learning their own lessons. This understanding gives us the freedom to forgive, to accept people as they are, and to let go of any anger or resentment we may have been holding onto. When we embrace empathy, we no longer hold others to impossible standards. We recognize that everyone is flawed, and that's okay. Their flaws do not define them, just as our flaws do not define us. In the end, empathy and understanding aren't just for the benefit of others, they are for our own peace and emotional well-being. When we approach life with empathy, we free ourselves from the constant cycle of reacting and being hurt. We begin to release the weight of anger, resentment, and frustration. Instead, we embrace compassion, connection, and healing. And in doing so, we create a more peaceful, harmonious world, one interaction at a time. Emotional mastery is the ability to understand, manage, and navigate your emotions in a way that leads to personal peace and resilience. It's not about suppressing or ignoring your feelings, but about gaining control over how you respond to them. Life is full of ups and downs, and emotions are a natural part of the human experience. Yet how we handle those emotions determines whether we stay grounded or get swept away in the turbulence of our reactions. Emotional mastery is the key to achieving stability in a world that often feels unpredictable and chaotic. The first step in emotional mastery is self-awareness. You cannot master your emotions if you don't first recognize them. How often do you feel anger bubbling up, frustration rising, or sadness weighing you down, only to react without thinking? Emotional awareness is the ability to identify what you're feeling in the moment and understand why you're feeling that way. When you take the time to check in with yourself, you create a space between the stimulus and your reaction. This space gives you the power to choose your response rather than automatically reacting out of impulse. For example, when you feel anger rising within you, perhaps due to something someone said or did, stop and ask yourself, what's behind this emotion? Why am I feeling this way? Is it really about what just happened, or is there something deeper at play? Sometimes our emotional responses are triggered by past experiences, old wounds, or unresolved issues that have nothing to do with the present moment. Emotional mastery requires that we take a step back and examine the roots of our feelings so we can respond from a place of understanding, not reactivity. Once you become aware of your emotions, the next step is regulation. Emotional regulation is the practice of controlling how intensely you feel and express your emotions. This doesn't mean suppressing your emotions or pretending they don't exist. Instead, it's about knowing how to temper your emotional responses and not let your emotions control you. When you're emotionally regulated, you are able to respond to situations calmly, even in moments of high stress. You have a sense of emotional balance where your feelings do not dictate your behavior. One of the most effective ways to regulate your emotions is through mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in the moment without judgment. By practicing mindfulness, you can learn to observe your thoughts and feelings without becoming entangled in them. For example, when you feel anger rising, instead of allowing it to overtake you, take a deep breath and simply observe the sensation. Acknowledge it, but don't let it define you. You can choose not to act on it immediately, giving yourself the time to process and then respond thoughtfully. Another key element of emotional mastery is learning to embrace and express your emotions in healthy ways. Emotions are a natural and necessary part of life, and they are meant to be felt. Emotional repression, where we push our feelings down or deny them, can lead to greater stress, anxiety, and eventually emotional outbursts. Instead, emotional mastery encourages you to acknowledge your feelings, express them constructively, and use them as a tool for growth. If you feel anger, for example, allow yourself to feel it without judgment, but then find a healthy outlet for it. This might mean talking to someone you trust, journaling about your feelings, or engaging in physical activity to release pent-up energy. Moreover, emotional mastery involves learning how to manage difficult emotions such as fear, anxiety, and sadness, which often arise in times of uncertainty or stress. These emotions, while natural, can sometimes become overwhelming if not properly managed. The key is to recognize that you are not your emotions. Fear doesn't define you. Anxiety doesn't define you. These emotions are temporary states that will pass. By learning to accept and sit with uncomfortable emotions, you give yourself permission to experience them without letting them consume you. In this space, you regain control, and you can choose to move forward with clarity and calmness, rather than being swept away by the intensity of your feelings. Another essential aspect of emotional mastery is the ability to create healthy emotional boundaries. We all have emotional limits, and knowing where those limits are is crucial to maintaining balance. It's important to know when to say no, when to step back, and when to protect your emotional well-being. Healthy boundaries prevent you from overextending yourself emotionally, which can lead to burnout, resentment, and frustration. By setting boundaries, you preserve your emotional energy and avoid getting caught up in unnecessary drama or negativity. Finally, emotional mastery allows you to cultivate emotional resilience, the ability to bounce back from setbacks and remain grounded during times of stress. Life is unpredictable, and we will all face challenges, losses, and disappointments. Emotional mastery doesn't mean avoiding these experiences. It means having the strength to face them without losing your sense of self. Resilience comes from knowing that you can weather any storm, that your emotions are valid but not permanent, and that you have the tools to process, heal, and move forward. The journey to emotional mastery is ongoing. It requires practice, patience, and a commitment to self-growth. It's not about being perfect or never feeling negative emotions. It's about learning to navigate those emotions with grace, understanding, and self-compassion. As you gain more control over your emotional responses, you begin to experience a deeper sense of peace and stability, no matter what life throws your way. Forgiveness is one of the most powerful tools for emotional and mental liberation, yet it is often misunderstood. Forgiveness isn't about excusing or justifying someone else's harmful behavior. It's about freeing yourself from the burden of carrying anger, resentment, and pain. When we hold on to grudges, we allow the wrongs done to us to dictate our emotional state, to tie us to the past, and to prevent us from moving forward. But when we choose forgiveness, we unlock a freedom that cannot be found through revenge or holding on to bitterness. Forgiveness isn't just an act of kindness toward others. It's a gift you give yourself, a decision to release the emotional chains that bind you. The first and most important aspect of forgiveness is understanding that it is not a single event, but a process. When someone hurts us, the pain doesn't disappear just because we say, "I forgive you." The wounds may still sting, and the memories may linger, but forgiveness is the decision to stop allowing the hurt to control our lives. It's about making a conscious choice to release the grip that anger and resentment have on us. The process may take time, but the decision to begin the journey of forgiveness is the first step toward freedom. Holding on to anger and resentment is like holding a hot coal in your hand, hoping it will burn someone else. In reality, it only burns you. These emotions weigh heavily on your heart and mind, preventing you from fully experiencing peace, joy, and emotional growth. When you choose not to forgive, you carry that weight with you, often without even realizing how much it affects your well-being. The longer you carry it, the heavier it becomes, and the more it interferes with your ability to move forward. Forgiveness, on the other hand, lightens your emotional load. It allows you to release the toxicity of past wounds so you can create space for healing and peace to flow into your life. One of the most transformative aspects of forgiveness is that it restores your power. When someone wrongs you and you choose not to forgive, you essentially give that person control over your emotional state. Every time you think about the hurt, you're letting their actions define your feelings. By holding on to resentment, you give them dominion over your peace. However, when you forgive, you take back control of your emotional life. You decide that your peace and happiness are not going to be dictated by someone else's actions. You choose to regain your emotional sovereignty, freeing yourself from the grip of past offenses. Forgiveness also opens the door to personal growth. When we hold on to grudges, we close ourselves off to new experiences, relationships, and opportunities. Our emotional energy is consumed by past hurt, preventing us from being fully present in the here and now. When we forgive, we free ourselves from the past, allowing ourselves to move forward. Forgiveness enables us to grow emotionally and spiritually because it requires us to confront our pain, process it, and choose to rise above it. It's a courageous act, one that opens the heart to healing, growth, and the possibility of new beginnings. Many people think that forgiveness means condoning the actions of the person who hurt them. This is a misconception. Forgiveness is not about saying what they did was okay or acceptable. It is about letting go of the emotional weight that their actions have placed on you. You can forgive someone without agreeing with what they did. In fact, forgiveness can be a powerful act of reclaiming your own peace. It's about giving up the need for revenge or justice that would keep you tied to the past, and instead choosing to walk in the freedom of emotional release. Another important aspect of forgiveness is that it helps break the cycle of pain. When we don't forgive, we perpetuate the emotional damage that was done to us. We carry the hurt forward, and it impacts how we interact with others, often without us realizing it. We may begin to build walls around our hearts, become distrustful, or react defensively because of the pain we've experienced. But when we forgive, we break that cycle. We stop the generational or emotional transmission of pain, creating an opportunity to heal and move forward in a healthier way. Forgiveness is not just for you and the person who wronged you. It can positively affect everyone you interact with, as it creates space for love, compassion, and understanding to flow freely. There is also a profound freedom that comes with forgiving yourself. Often, we can be our own harshest critics, holding on to guilt, shame, or regret over past mistakes. But just as we extend forgiveness to others, we must also extend it to ourselves. When we carry guilt, we hold ourselves hostage to the past. We prevent ourselves from growing, from learning, and from embracing the future. By forgiving ourselves, we release the hold that guilt and regret have on us, allowing us to embrace self-compassion, personal growth, and the freedom to move forward with a clean slate. Forgiveness doesn't mean that we forget the wrong that was done to us. It doesn't mean that we should continue to allow people to hurt us or that we should stay in toxic situations. Forgiveness is not about excusing bad behavior, but about choosing to let go of the emotional burden of anger, resentment, and bitterness. It's about recognizing that we deserve peace and emotional freedom more than we deserve to hold on to past wounds. True forgiveness comes when we realize that we are not defined by what was done to us. Our worth is not determined by the wrongs others have committed against us. We are free to move forward, not as victims of the past, but as empowered individuals who have chosen to heal, let go, and grow. Forgiveness is the key to this freedom. It unlocks the door to a life of peace, emotional resilience, and personal growth, allowing us to walk forward without the weight of the past holding us back.